Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Corey, and I'm just a guy on my lunch break. I appreciate you joining me once again. If you've watched more than one of my videos, if you've watched 2, 3 of my videos, you got to pay up now. Your payment is simple. Take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out. Like the video, make a quick comment on the video. Let me know what your relationship with Kratom is or any other opiate. And I would very, very much appreciate that. Um, so I guess I'm on day 3 now, again, of being off of Kratom. I'm probably going to stop counting the days, to be honest with you, because, I'm not sure moving forward what my relationship will be with Kratom on a weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly, quadruple weekly, whatever you want to call it, monthly basis. I'm not sure what that relationship is going to be. I came off of it for a total of about 27 days. Mainly with that, I was wanting to reset my tolerance, make sure that I was completely free of any physical dependence of Kratom. Because for me, that's where the relationship just kind of started to go down south. The physical dependence. Didn't like the physical dependence. Did not like the fact that if I needed to go a day or a couple of days or a few days or a full week or a full work week without the Kratom, that I couldn't do that without feeling like shit, without feeling depressed, without feeling physically ill, the cold chills, the, loose bowels, all of those things. Was not a fan of that about Kratom. And, a lot of people out there's 2 different schools of thought surrounding Kratom. And there's a lot of people out there that think that Kratom is not addictive. It's just a botanical. You can't get addicted to Kratom. These people, in my opinion, no offense, are idiots. They're just idiots. Either they're idiots or they're a person who just loves Kratom way too damn much and they're in denial about it. Now listen, I love Kratom. I freaking love Kratom, bro. I love Kratom. You guys, all of you, you all know I love Kratom. Kratom is the shit. I love taking Kratom. I love the effects I get from it. But I'm also a realist. I'm also a practical person. I'm also a person who is not going to sit here and lie to almost 400 people and say, oh, it's not addictive. It's no big deal. You can take it as much as you want and as long as you want. And you're not going to have any issues whatsoever when you try to stop taking it, right? And then the wink, right? Wrong. Bullshit. And for any of you who have any sort of extensive long-term relationship with Kratom, you know what I'm talking about. As the old folks say, I'm preaching to the choir right now. You guys already know what I'm talking about, right? I don't have to tell you. You guys know this. Not to mention, 99% of the comments I get on this channel are from those people. The people who realize that, yeah, Kratom's cool as hell. Kratom's the shit. Kratom makes you feel great. But if you take Kratom on a regular basis, on an ongoing basis, every day, multiple times a day, you build up what's called a tolerance for that substance. And then if you ever go to try to stop, it kind of sucks, right? It kind of sucks mentally. It kind of sucks emotionally. It kind of sucks physically, And that's where Kratom becomes a slippery slope for a lot of people. That's where Kratom became a slippery slope for me, which is why I'm making the best effort that I know how to adjust my relationship with Kratom. Does that mean I'm never taking Kratom again? No, it doesn't mean that for me. I've never said that on this channel, that I'll never take it again, because chances are I will. And a lot, and there are people that pop on my channel that don't like that I say that. They don't like that I freely admit and freely leave that door open and leave that door cracked to potentially using Kratom in the future. There are a lot of people that don't like that and try to call me out for that. But hey, bro, hey, you know, if you don't like that, and if what you're looking for is long-term recovery and 100% abstinence every day for the rest of your life, then you need to go to NA and AA, not just a guy on his lunch break. Yeah, that's me. I'm not NA, I'm not AA. Now, do I disagree with that school of thought? I do not disagree with it. In fact, quite the opposite. I agree with it. I just don't want to do it. I don't see that being my future. And I have no desire to remain 100% abstinent from any mind-altering substance for as long as I live. I'm just not going to do that. I already know I'm not. And so it's one of those things for me. I don't disagree with it, and I think for certain people, even a lot of people, it might be necessary. And there are people out there that just, when they get into using mind-altering substances, there is nowhere for them to go but straight down to the pit of hell when they start using mind-altering substances. I don't care what anybody says. You can call me a liar. You can say I'm in denial. You can say what you want. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. And I've talked about this before. When I was using Kratom on a regular basis, taking a couple of grams in the morning, a couple of grams in the afternoon, a couple of grams in the evening, I was at a perfectly sweet spot with that. And like I said, the only issue I ever had with it is when I got the bright idea that, you know what, I don't like being a slave to this shit. It's obvious that I have to take this all the time. And if I try to stop, then I feel like ass for about a week, 2 weeks. And I didn't like that, so I wanted to reset my tolerance and get myself back to a place where if I just want to take it every once in a while, maybe on the weekend or every couple of weeks, or even if it's just every few days, if I'm going 2, 3, 4 days without it, and then I'll take it for a day or two. If I'm to kind of reward myself, if I want to do that, then I'll do it. And then I don't have to be in this situation where I'm constantly like flip-flopping. I feel like shit all the time. Every time I go to stop taking it, or if I want to go a few days without it, I feel like shit. That's what I don't want. So I just want to be clear about that on this channel. Now, legend has it that people who say that are simply making an excuse to continue using because they are addicted to that substance. I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe, but one thing I will say is what I'm not doing is being on here, downplaying what my previous relationship with Kratom was. I'm being completely honest. When I was taking it morning, noon, and night, 2 or 3 grams in the morning, a couple of grams in the afternoon, and then 2 or 3 grams at night, when I was in that steady balance with Kratom, everything was all good in my life. And it wasn't until I decided to completely stop taking it that about the last month, or a little over a month, has been definitely challenging. And I know what people would say. Well, you have to give your brain time to heal from it. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm buying that. For a person like myself that's 47 years old, I have thought sometimes that maybe I've just used substances long enough to where I've done some irreversible damage. And maybe when I just go to stop, I'm just like, I need something, and who's to say? you know, who's to say? You know, you look out there and you look at how many people are under the care of a doctor, how many people are taking medications for depression, how many people are taking medications for anxiety, how many people out there are taking medications for ADD or ADHD, when I'm here to tell you that probably 75% of those people have depression, anxiety, ADHD. All of it is probably self-induced because they are not living a healthy, balanced lifestyle, whether that be from using other substances, whether that be making bad choices, or whether that be they've created a lifestyle where it's full of nothing but bad habits, sitting watching television, being sedentary, not eating healthy, sitting and playing video games all the time, being addicted to Facebook, scrolling through social media all the time. All of these things can cause a rapid decline in the mental health of people. We all understand that, right? So it's kind of like pick your poison. 95% of the people are addicted to something. Again, now here we're going back to you always want to be, maybe it's just a justification, a rationalization. You always just want to be the lesser of two evils. Well, I might be addicted to Kratom, but at least I'm not addicted to this and that and the other. At least I eat healthy, and at least I don't sit and play video games all day, and at least I'm not addicted to social media, and at least I exercise, and at least I drink a lot of water. You know, we're doing that whole thing again. So who freaking knows? An opinion is like an asshole. Everybody has one. Some people probably have 2, 3, 4 of them. And you know, it is what it is. So yeah, last night I finally got some exercise in. Went to kickboxing last night. That was good. That was cool. Except I got head kicked right in the side of the head by my son, no less, which I'll go into that subsequently. And my ear has been bleeding. So as you can see, I have a Band-Aid over my ear. I would take it off and show you guys, but for one thing, you probably don't really care. Secondly, it's the only Band-Aid I have on me, so I'm not going to take it off. It's going to stay there until I get home today. But my son is one of these kids. He's, you know, my son is 17 at this point. He's about 6'1". He's probably about an inch taller than I am at this point. He weighs maybe 175. You know, my son is probably 8% body fat. I mean, he's pretty ripped. He's pretty ripped, and he's an athletic kid. What's more is he claims he wants to do this for a living. Not to mention, we went to UFC 292 this past weekend. I took him to Boston with me. We saw Aljamain Sterling win the bantamweight title. He definitely, when he sees stuff like that, he gets inspired. He has expressed multiple times that he wants to, you know, be a fighter for a living. You know, it's one of those things where I do sometimes, he's in that phase of he's 17 years old. He has periods of time and moments where I'm like, come on, dude, stop being lazy, you know, where he'll sleep till 12 o'clock. He'll, you know, I have to remind him to do his chores. He's just being a typical teenager. You know, he'll sit and scroll on his phone. He'll do that sort of thing. You know, what teenager doesn't these days, to be honest with you. So I get a little frustrated with him regarding that. And there are times where I question whether he'll ever really have the work ethic to be able to achieve that. But then there are times where I look at other people and I look at this generation, and then I look at people like Sean O'Malley, who just won the bantamweight champion, who is a weed smoker, who has a very popular YouTube streaming channel, and he also streams on Twitch where he loves to play video games and stuff like this. And I look at people like that and I'm like, well, damn, you know, maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I'm just conservative. You know, maybe you can live that sort of lifestyle that I almost perceive as not traditional, new age. It's kind of, you know, lazy mindset in a lot of ways. Maybe you can be that way and then still go out there and get it and still go out there and do something like that. So Anyway, but I'm gonna have to talk to him about. He claims 1 minute that, and he's only 17, and there's a big thing about when people spar, you know, you don't go too hard in sparring. It's not a good idea to go too hard in sparring. You don't want to just be taking massive, head trauma on a regular basis. It's one of those things where you should spar to practice the moves and to practice your positioning, to practice your footwork, practice your combinations, getting off your punches, this and that, practice your striking defense, all of those things. That's what sparring is for, right? Now, there is some argument that, well, hey, if you get into a real situation or if you get into a real fight, you need to be able to take a shot. So there's nothing wrong with, taking some shots and sparring just to get yourself used to kind of getting hit. So there's kind of two schools of thought on it, but most people and a lot of real popular fighters don't really spar that hard. And my son is the same one, the same one that will say that. And he's gotten a couple of situations in kickboxing class before where he, went some rounds with, other guys who they're both, the testosterone, they both want to be better than the other. They're both trying to see whose balls are bigger in this situation. He's gotten into some pretty hard exchanges with some guys and has verbally expressed to me that he wants to do lighter sparring. But then this is the same kid that head kicked the shit out of me last night, and my ear is literally swollen. And the problem with it is, this is the same freaking ear that back in my 20s when I was taking jiu-jitsu, I actually developed cauliflower in this ear, kind of briefly, when I was taking jiu-jitsu. And actually, so I got the cauliflower, which you see these guys on UFC and wrestlers and stuff got this really bad cauliflower ear, where it's just, there's no hope for these guys. Because what happens is, let me explain cauliflower ear. So your ear is obviously made of cartilage on the inside. Inside of that cartilage, there's this, I'm not even sure what it's called. I'm not a medical professional, but there's this fluid that lives inside the cartilage of your ear, right? Or inside any cartilage. It's called some sort of fluid. Damn it, I used to know this. Anyway, somebody can comment it, tell me what, I can't think of it on the spot, but there's a certain type of fluid that lives inside the cartilage, all of your cartilage in your body. And if that cartilage gets torn to a point where it cannot regenerate, because cartilage is not like tissue, it's not like skin, it doesn't regenerate and heal the same way as like tissue or skin would. Does that make sense? It's made of completely different cells. So if you get like a just slight tear in your cartilage, and then that fluid leaks out of the cartilage into your skin and causes like a bubble, which is what causes that cauliflower look. If it's just a slight tear, it can actually heal. You can drain the fluid out, or it can heal back together, and then your body will just naturally reabsorb some of that fluid. What happens to these guys who just have this really massive amount of cauliflower ear? It's happened to them so many times, and the damage to the cartilage is so substantial, and they've just never gotten it fixed, because it's something that it's what they do for a living. So it just keeps reoccurring and reoccurring and reoccurring, and they have so many tears in this cartilage, and the cartilage is just so jacked up, and the fluid has leaked out under the skin and caused this bubble, like cauliflower sort of appearance. And then what happens is, if they don't ever get that fixed, if they don't ever get the cartilage sewn up and then the fluid drained out, eventually that fluid hardens and it becomes like almost like a calcium deposit. And that's why, if you ever took one of those guys' ears and grabbed it, it will be hard. All this little bubble, this cauliflower that's bubbled out, and it will be hard. When I got the cauliflower ear back in my 20s, I went to the doctor 2 different times. He drained it and it went down, and he said, now you just have to watch it. He said, if it's one of those things where the cartilage is going to heal itself, He said it likely, the cauliflower, the pocket of fluid will not start filling back up, and it'll just, once I drain it, it just won't come back and it'll stay gone. But if I drain it and then you give it a day, 2 days, 3 days, and you start seeing it fill back up again, he said then there's a good chance that what we're going to have to do is go in there and do a little surgery on the ear. I have to put a few stitches in there and pull the cartilage back together with stitches and seal it, and then at that point it should go away. So got it drained. Sure enough, after about 2 days, it started filling back up again. Went back to the doctor. He was like, all right, well, this isn't going to heal on its own. So he basically put, I don't remember how many, but 5, 6 stitches, whatever, in my ear to close the cartilage back up. And the cauliflower never came back after that. Although my ear never looked the same after that either. It's not a lot different, but my right ear for the better part of my adult life has looked a little bit different than this ear. This ear looks one way, and then this ear is a little bit more puffed out in this area. You can't call it cauliflower, but there was definitely some, permanent aesthetic change to the ear after that. The same freaking ear that my son kicked me in last night. And I asked him at first, I was like, thought you wanted to go soft. What are you doing? Because the problem when I spar with my son, he's my son. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to show up at the doctor and have to get something looked at by my son, for my son, and then I'm the one that made it happen to him. As a parent, you just have this natural, like, inerrant concern for your children, right? So when I go to spar him, I'm always constantly like holding back a little bit. When I throw a kick, or if I throw it towards the head, I'm always kicking, but I'm kind of holding back, like at the same time. And if any of you out there have ever sparred, you know kind of what I'm talking about. There's a way that you can spar and still throw all your shots, but not really go all in on the shots. Well, I do that with him because he's my son. I don't want to hurt him. So I think I'm going to have a talk with him, and I'm probably going to say to him, hey, if you're going to go hard like that and you're going to throw full-on head kicks that are going to cause my ear to bleed, then, I'm going to let you spar with all these, young, high testosterone other kids that are here. I'm going to let you spar with them, and I'll go spar with some of these other guys who have a little bit more respect for their elders. I'm almost 50 years old, dude, Now, I'm not saying I can't hold my own. When I spar with these guys, I land some good shots for sure. And I could on him too. But with him particularly, I have to live with him. So if something happens and he gets hurt, or he ends up having to go to the emergency room and get some stitches for whatever reason because of something I did to him, then I'm the one that has to live with that. I'm the one that has to deal with that. Whereas if I'm sparring with these other guys, they're adults. They've made their own decision to be there in kickboxing. I don't go in there and try to destroy them, but if something happens with them, they sign their name on the dotted line. If they have to go to the doctor and get something looked at, get something taken care of, that's not on me. That's not on my dime or my time, right? And so it's an interesting dynamic when I spar with my son, because I'm kind of holding back and he's not holding back. He claims he is, but that kick he landed on me last night, homeboy was not holding back. I don't care what he says. And I don't want to end up like with a ruptured eardrum. Luckily it wasn't any worse. I just there's a slight cut right down the edge of the cartilage there. And I woke up this morning, there's blood on my pillow, and I was wearing a white shirt at sparring last night. There's blood all over it because I was, sweating. I was taking it and like rubbing off my ear with it, and this is really annoying. And my ear today burns like the freaking dickens. And right after he kicked me, I was like, oh, what happened to going soft? I was like, is my ear okay? Yeah, it's fine. I was like, it ain't fine, you ass crack. I knew it wasn't fine. Sure enough, a couple minutes later, in between rounds, I take my shirt and I go like this, blood. My ear's bleeding. I'm like, you jackass, it's not fine. And I made, I made sure to show him that too. But anyway, that's my little rant about, I mean, it is what it is. You know, I go in there, we strap on the gloves, put on the leg pads, put on our cups, you know, our athletic supporters, we put in our mouthpiece, and you go in there and you're throwing kicks and punches at people in real time. Shit's gonna happen. Shit's gonna happen. You know, I mean, I landed a clean left hook on a guy last night where I was like, I stopped after, I was like, you good? You good? You know, he came in and threw some punches and he just left himself open. He was right there, so I took it. Boom! And I was like, you good? You good? But it was one of those young guys. You know, he's like, oh yeah, let's go. You know, it like pumped him up. I'm like, man, you young fuckers. I can't. My old ass in here, but I don't like getting hit that much anymore. I don't mind getting tagged from time to time, you know, and if it's like if I'm getting hit with a glove, you know, on the face and I'm taking a shot, it's not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm gonna have to talk to my son, like, barefoot, you know, on the face. Like, nah, dude, don't throw full-on head kicks to the face when you're sparring with me. Don't do that. And it's probably not a good idea to do it with everybody else either, unless you can hold back a little bit when you do that. You need to be able to kick, but hold back at the same time so you're just not taking somebody's head off. Either way, I ate it. I mean, it's not like it knocked me out, but it damn sure made my ear bleed. So it is what it is. So I felt a little better after doing the exercise last night. I'm at 26 minutes. A little better after doing the exercise last night. But then, of course, the ear thing happened, and that kind of pissed me off because it's an interesting dynamic where, you know, you jump in there, you spar with someone, so you can kind of anticipate. You can't blame someone for everything. And in his defense, I could have blocked it. I didn't block it. You know, it was a good kick. You know, it was one that he didn't telegraph it. I didn't know it was coming. And plus, when you get in there and you've been sparring for several rounds, you start getting a little tired. You start dropping your hands a little. He caught me slipping. Caught me with my hands down. So it's not, you know, I can't completely get mad at him because I could have easily blocked it. Or I could have easily come back and made him pay for it. But anyway, it is what it is. I might just stop sparring with my son because it's kind of it's kind of like a win-lose sort of situation for me, because if I go in and if I hurt him, I still kind of lose. I can win, but I still kind of lose because I've hurt my son. I don't want to hurt my own son, you know. So it's just it's what they call a dichotomy, you know. For him, he's the younger. You know, he wants to impress his dad, so he's going after it, trying to get some shots in, and so he definitely doesn't hold back. And he's the smaller. You know, he's as tall as I am. He's probably a little bit taller, but I outweigh him probably by 15 pounds. So he's still technically the smaller, younger fighter, although not by much. Not by much. He's definitely faster. You know, dude, I'm almost 50 years old. You know, I'm an athletic guy for 50 years old. Don't get me wrong, but let's be real. Father Time's undefeated, bro. You know, I mean, I ain't no 25-year-old guy anymore. I ain't no 30-year-old guy, you know. And while I can still hang with a lot of them just because I have a decent amount of skill, I can tell I'm not as fast. I can tell that I have to be more of a counterpuncher. Like the hook that I landed last night, completely a counterpunch. He came in throwing something. He made the mistake of staying in the pocket too long and leaving his hands down. So I took a shot when I had it. That's how I have to get these guys. I have to be smarter. You know, I kind of have to be smarter than they are because I'm not as fast as they are. And so, and that includes my own son. I'm not as fast as he is either. But anyway, it is what it is. Enough about that. if you're out there and you're on Kratom and you're in a bad way with Kratom, I encourage you to, at the least, reset your tolerance. If you're a person who needs to completely come off of it and completely stay off of it because you're just a person that does not know how to take something like Kratom without just going completely asinine overboard, then that may be the move for you. You may need to go to AA or NA. Kratom is a substance that is worthy of AA and NA. It can be a soul-stealing addiction, just like Percocets, just like Vicodin, just like heroin, just like fentanyl. Before you jump into my comments, oh, you're grouping it in the same boat as fentanyl and heroin and Percocets. What the hell's wrong with you, man? Kratom's a botanical. It's not that bad. Calm the hell down. God, man, people get so feisty over it. I'm not trying to get Kratom outlawed. I'm not saying it's as bad as heroin. I'm not saying it's as bad as fentanyl. I'm not saying it's as bad as Percocet. But if you're taking, like a lot of these people, 40, 50, 60, 80 grams of Kratom per day, or you're drinking 3, 4, 5 MIT extracts every day, you are damn right it can be bad. It can be a horrible soul-stealing addiction, just like any other stronger opiate out there. Mark my word on that. So, luckily, most of the people that are subscribed to this channel are intelligent folks. You understand that that is the case, that it can be soul-stealing. And if that's you, and if you're on the extracts, I suggest going to the powder. Depending on how many of the extracts you're taking every day, you might have to start 15, 20 grams per day of the powder so that you're not going through horrible withdrawals. And then from there, every 3 or 4 days, knock down your powder use. I prefer capsules because you can easily measure out how much you're taking every day. If you're looking to come off, don't do the powder. Do the powder, but do the powder in capsule form. Because if you're trying to come off and you're trying to work your way down or taper down, one of the most important aspects of it is you need to be able to know how much you're taking, how much you're dosing on a regular basis. Otherwise, you're just going to be taking it willy-nilly, and before it's all over with, before you know it, you're going to be back up to where you were before you ever started tapering. You need to be able to work it down slowly but surely. Every 3 or 4 days, drop it about a half gram. Exercise helps if you're feeling any withdrawals. Exercise, drinking tons of water, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, taking some vitamins and minerals every day. Those type of things really help a lot with withdrawals. You can take vitamin C at night. Magnesium helps a lot with resting. I have spoken a little bit about kava on here. Kava is something that's good for